Sorry. I like strawberry, but they don't like me. I don't want to end up in the hospital. So that,
Angel
that can be very fast. Eee, you.
Angelique Kidjo rushed to the hospital over
You don't
strawberries.
want that.
No, we don't want that at all. Welcome. It's great to see you all here. Welcome to this conversation with Angelique Kidjo. My name is Christopher Jule Larsen, or Christopher Jule Larsen. Um, I'm sure Mrs. Kidjo does not need an introduction, but I have experienced that it might still be a good idea to share a few facts about the person we're about to get better acquainted with, to make sure we all know some of the key, we share some of the key information. Mrs. Kidjo was born in Benin 2 weeks before the country gained its independence, and she grew up in the economic center of Cotonou. Coming into adulthood under the Marxist dictatorship of Mathieu Kérékou, the young Angelique became a musical starlet in her home country and in neighboring states. But due to the political situation, she had to leave the country to express herself musically to the fullest. And in 1983, she left for Paris, France, to pursue her career as a singer, and she also attended a prestigious jazz academy there. She was then, after some years, signed to the legendary Island Records, and in 1991 she put out the album Logozo, which reached #1 on Billboard's world music charts. When it's sort of a jubilee for that. It's 25 years since that album came out. Since then, she has put out, I think, 12 other albums, working with a veritable who's of contemporary musical life. Everyone from Alicia Keys to another favorite here at the International Festival, Philip Glass. She has made hit singles that have transgressed the boundaries of the bestseller lists. She's been remixed by great DJs, and she has worked with symphony orchestras. Her list of awards is too long to read here, but it includes no less than 3 Grammys. Angelique Kidjo is also a great humanitarian. If you read her biography, you can see that she originally wanted to be a human rights lawyer as well as a singer. And she has been a UNICEF ambassador since 2002. Through music and humanitarian efforts, she endeavors to bring about social change and bring the people of the world closer. Tomorrow, she will be performing at Grieghallen here in Bergen. A concert I'm sure will be as invigorating and eventful as her career has been so far. And so I'm incredibly honored to wish you welcome to Bergen, Angelique Kidjo.
Thank you for once I have sun when I come to Norway. It's hot out there. I'm loving it. I would take all time out. As soon as we're done, I'm walking before it becomes cold again.
It's we're very happy to offer you a nice temperature. It's not often like
it's not
this.
due to you. Come on, it's Mother Nature. So okay. Don't take credit for that. Men take credit for everything.
True. I thought we'd start with the start.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You grew up in a large family in Benin, a family where music played a large part.
Absolutely.
You say in your biography, your father bought instruments for your brothers, and they would start a Jackson 5-like group.
I came back home and I saw boxes in the middle of the house, and I was like, "What is that? Smelling plastic. What is this?" I've always been this most curious person in the house. My nickname all the way to my village is when, why, how. Because I ask one question, you answer, and I ask more. And I was like trying to poke my finger into the boxes, and my father's like, "Get off!" I'm like, "Well, I want to see what's in there." Says, "It's not yours. You have to wait." So when my brother came and they unfold all the stuff, I'm like, "What is this?" I never saw a guitar, the bass, a keyboard, drum set, ever. I hear the music. The only instrument I was accounted with was traditional drums and keyboard, cowbell, and other stuff that I listened to. I mean, I listened to the modern music knowing that it's different instrument, but never really saw them. And I become very intrigued about how a human being can play the drums. I mean, you have two legs, two arms, and you have all those drums. How do you play that? And when my brother started playing it, I'm like, you crazy. How you do this? So out of curiosity, I tried to do it. And I started to play the drum, and I went to my bed, and at that time I was sharing the same room with my sister, and I kicked her out of the bed, going playing drums in the night. From the moment
How did that go?
I'm like, no, I ain't playing no drums. This is stupid, and this is too crazy for me. But that's how basically I start seeing what modern music instrument was about, and my brothers decided to have a cover band, and they were playing all the music of their generation. I have a 10-year difference between the older brother and me. So they were listening to all the Beatles, the Rolling Stone, Motown, Stax, whatever.
So they had friends and
They have friends that
family that traveled and
I mean,
brought
at
back.
that time we have a record store in Cotonou called
Okay.
Albarica Store. We can buy all the album that was there. The vinyl was available before the communist regime arrived and everything just disappeared. So my father can buy them there, or my brother's friend that was students in Paris or in America will come with the latest. And we always have the latest home. Every time we do a party, Kijo's house is where you hear it the first. So I like that.
Yeah, sort of like a radio station.
Yeah, radio station home, and my father was really smart. He's like, yeah, there's a time for music, there's a time for working in school. So when time comes, homework. That's why I hate homework so much.
It takes away time from music.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've recently finished this biography of yours, and there are so many fascinating scenes in it. And one of the most fascinating is where you describe the first time you saw a record by Aretha Franklin. And you describe this of seeing an American woman, a black woman, dressed in an African costume. And what an impression that made on you.
But the thing is, when the music started, I only saw male doing music. And most of the cover that comes in, you got white male, black male, white male, black male, white male, black male. You never have any, even white woman. I mean, some white women start coming in later on. You have Sheila, you have all those French singers, and they comes in. But the first black woman on the cover of an album was Aretha Franklin. And I was just like, so black women can be on the cover of the album too? Interesting. So it was an eye-opener for me, but still was too far away from my reality. Even though she was black, she was singing in a language I don't speak, because Benin is a French-speaking country. So I started learning all those different languages through music, basically. I would listen to the sound of it and then replicated it without speaking the language. And sometimes it doesn't sound like English at all, but I like it. That's how when I start writing music, when something I'm inspired about a word, I don't care what it is. It comes with a whole concept, and I just put the words out there.
That's interesting because you write lyrics in many languages.
Yep, I do.
You have you write
I invented my own language for my music writing too.
even your own language.
Oh, yes.
So you have
I love
French
that.
and English and Yoruba and
Well, I've studied German for 5 years in Benin, and I speak Portuguese a little bit. I speak Italian a little bit. I speak Spanish a little bit, and I sing in all those languages: in Yoruba, Fon, Mina, and Gun.
wow.
That's right.
But what compels you to choose a language for a song, or
But
does it go the other way around?
But the thing is, you don't have any control over that. I remember every time they asked me this question, I remember we were in a press conference with Patti Smith, the guy from REM, Michael Snipes, myself, and Philip Glass. And the journalist was asking us, how do you write a song? And I was like, huh? How do you answer a question like that? And thank God Philip comes to our rescue. Philip said that inspiration is from the domain of the unknown. And if we know how it works, we will have destroyed. That's what we're good at. I'm like, good. That's a good answer for me. Move on. So basically, I don't know. I mean, the the music bring itself to the language. If it's a language I don't speak, I reach out to people, but I will put the melody and what it comes. I will gibberish the language and record it and find the right words because I know what it's gonna be about. And it's something I don't have any control over it. I live in within my time, and everything that happens around me affects my writing. And because I'm one of the whole, and somebody suffered somewhere, I suffered too. And in that, there's no concept of color or language. I don't care.
Do you think the different languages have different melodies that
Oh,
that suit them better?
definitely. I mean, the language you grew up speaking have a huge impact on your vocal cord. And I learned that with the doctor that take care of my vocal cord. And he said most of the time, black people that sings gospel and African that sings because we start singing with our microphone basically. That our vocal cords are more muscular than any other human being voice because he studied very well because he was a scientist and he put the camera in and said. But what is really a signature of the black voice is those nodules that are on the vocal cords that most of the doctors don't understand that they can't operate it. If you do surgery, the person loses voice because it's part of your fingerprint of your vocal cords. So it's all those things I have to learn to understand why I have to go through what you call re-education of the speaking voice, because the speaking voice is the enemy of the singing voice. Once you see it with the camera in your throat, before you sing, you shut up. Because when you're speaking, you compress the vocal cord non-stop, and there's no stretching moment and release moment. And suddenly you start singing and you stretch the vocal cord. While you're doing this all the time, once you go do this, go bang, and that's it. For 2 weeks, you can't sing, you can't talk. So all those is something that I learned here when I was going to school because it becomes complicated for me because I have some vocal teachers. The first 2 years that I spent in the classical music, I was trained the Italian classical vocal technique, which was good to a certain extent. But if you don't know your range, if the person that is teaching you don't try to understand what is your lower note and what is your higher note, you can do damage to your vocal cord. So I've been struggling through it. And
Was this when you arrived
in
in
Paris? Yeah.
So this was part of your
Because I have
education
never been
as a
to any school when I was starting. My mom was the one that taught me how to sing. And I arrived in the jazz school, and the teacher that I have was just like, you are awake in a nightmare. Because she has that kind of thin voice, and everything that goes through her have to be thin voice. And here I am like, big voice. And then she goes, I don't know how to do this. And then she said to me, every time we finish singing, my vocal cord will be so tight and so sore. So she sent me to her doctor, and the doctor said, oh, surgery. I'm like, uh-oh, nape. So somebody sent me to another teacher. It's an American woman that came to do an exchange with the jazz school where we were. And I went to see Joy Kane. I'm never going to forget that day. And then she goes, sing. I said, okay. What do you want me to sing? Just sing a cappella. I start singing. And she goes, are you before your period or are you after your period? I'm like, why are you asking me that question? She said, because before you have hormone that your body generate that make your vocal cord thicker. So you need a different technique for it to make it supple when you're singing. I'm like, huh? Come again? I never knew that. And she asked me, do you know what a vocal cords look like and you know where they are positioned in your throat? I'm like, no, I don't know. So she get the book out and show me exactly how it works. Because to become a teacher, vocal teacher in America, you gotta go to a school for that. Because if you break you heard somebody's vocal cord, they sue you.
sued, yeah.
Okay. So you don't know what you're talking about. So she's the one that sent me to the doctor that had been my doctor since the last 25 years. And once you understand that your vocal cords are like the muscles of a 100 meters runner, like Usain Bolt, you understand that you have to take care of it. You can't just go on stage and start belting out. You gotta warm it up before. So
I've been listening to your records warming up for this, and as I said, it's 25 years now since Logoso came out, and as an artist, you've of course developed, and your musical sound has developed, but also your voice has developed. And how do you feel about your voice today when you listen to the one you had 25 years ago?
It has completely evolved and transformed. I mean, one of the things that I did when I arrived in America was I asked my doctor, as I was telling you, that I need a vocal coach, because I had one before. When I left, I need to find somebody else, and he sent me to meet Mr. Bill Riley, who is the vocal coach of Celine Dion and Steve Wonder, all those people. He's half Cherokee American, and he has a holistic approach to the voice. What you need to eat, how you sleep, I mean, I don't like drugs. If I can live my life without taking aspirin, I'll be happy. At least I can't even take aspirin, to say the truth. I take aspirin, I'll bleed, right, immediately. So I went to him and I said, okay, I want to work on my voice. And I want to work thoroughly. I mean, and with him, I developed my range. And the rule of not speaking before singing still apply till today. Sometimes I take a little bit, like I will do tomorrow, do some couple of interviews before I sing, but no, most of the time, I don't say a word until I go on stage, because that's just the way you keep your voice alive. And it becomes a routine for me. Every day I wake up, I do scales. Even if I don't have a show, I just do it. Because you never know when you're going to be in a situation where people say, sing something. And it happens to me. So, can you do an a cappella? I'm like, early in the morning, I'm like, no. I'm not a morning person singers. I can sing in the afternoon, but in the morning, it's 7 o'clock, I sing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be finding somebody else to sing for. Yeah, I ain't doing it.
Okay. So you come to Paris, you go to the Jazz Academy. You have a background from Benin where you learned about traditional music. You had a
Deeply.
traditional heritage, and you had the Western music that your brothers performed and you also performed. How did your approach to music change during those years in Paris?
Well, the thing that I realized when I arrived in France, first of all, was that I was no longer home and living home without paying a rent, being a kid and just like do whatever I want to do. I knew the challenges that was going to be before me, and I was eager to take them on. Because for me, it was a new beginning. It was my responsibility if I fail and if I succeed. So no one was going to be blamed for that. So when I arrived, one thing that I have in the back of my head was to always be on stage. So when I arrived, my brother said, you want to play? First, I have a friend that have a band. They need backing singers. I said, I'm doing backing singing. Because I wanted to see it from back. I've always been on the front. I want to be on the back, too, to understand when somebody is singing bad behind me, I can tell the person, nope, that's not it. You got to learn everything. And that's the philosophy of my father. My father said, every time, doesn't matter what job you decide to do, you have to learn to know that job inside out, know your own capacity and your limits. And if you can push those limits, push them. If not, just do the best you can. So for me, it was really simple to do that, to be in school and be on stage. And I think that's what saved me, basically, because when you stay too long in a musical school, you tend to keep on being a student all the time. You have to be on stage. Where the truth is how do you interact with the public? So when I arrived at the jazz school, I started playing in 1984 with a piano player called Jasper van 't Hof from Holland. He is a genius of piano. I've never seen somebody like that. He plays and you think that there are 4 people playing his left hand, but he was he's not organized for one bit. I mean, he's a huge mess walking. And he would go to the studio to record. I said, what is the song? What are the songs, Jasper? I said, we're going to make the song. I'm like, you really? You kidding me? Say, I play, you sing. I'm like, oh no, you ain't gonna do that again. I did at least 5 albums with him the same way. But with him, what I learned is that you can react in emergency. there's music there that is played, your brain have to start functioning. You have to start writing on the spot. It doesn't matter. You just jump in. I mean, there's nobody to help you, to save you. You jump in that water, cold or warm, doesn't matter. Jump in. And I love that because it's jazz, and he comes from the free jazz world. For me, it has been always interesting to see and to hear from journalists going, you came from Africa with a huge richness for us. What you bring to the table is something we cannot ourselves bring to the table. And working with Jasper, he was a little bit of extreme. And the first thing he said to me when we met, he's like, we Westerner, we didn't create nothing. We just steal it from the Africans. And I went to Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo with Philip Catherine. And I came back and I cannot continue doing the music I was doing before because there's no truth to it without the African component. So that's how we start working. And I start realizing throughout my whole journey in music that slavery have brought to every music a lot, all the way to classical music. You listen to the Ravel Bolero, is written on African mood. You listen to John Sebastian Bach, Sarabande, is written on the music of the slave from Panama. And it goes on and on and on and on. And we just sit here and say to ourselves, African people don't bring anything to the table. I'm not really. The music you've been listening to for a century comes from us, baby. I have nothing to take from you. I have something to add to your music.
And through this, through the music you helped create in the early 90s, a larger, we might call it a genre, became known, which is what is now called world music, and was called world music.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, that was what I wanted to ask. What does that mean? When you came on the stage
Don't
in
ask
1991?
me. I didn't make that word out.
No,
I hate that word from day one.
really.
I really hated it. We like to classify stuff, and that's the problem of human family. We divide instead of seeing what we have in common. We even bring it to music. I mean, it's just like, come on, music is music, man. Why do you want to call this one this? Why are you calling the music that come from Africa world music and the music you listening to come from Africa? This is kind of deranged a little bit for me. I'm like, don't put me in the box. Don't put me in a coffin. Nothing's going to put me in a coffin. And nobody going to put me in a coffin. And it has been my fight for my entire career. I don't want to be put in a box. I'm a human being before being a woman. I'm a human being before being an artist. So therefore, you have to excuse me for being human. I'm not going to no boxes. And world music is none of my business. I don't care about it. I just don't want to be there. What else?
What else? Where to go from there? You talk a lot about in the book and also other places, also in your music, about the role of rhythms in your musical heritage, and how the music of Benin is based
On rhythm.
on rhythm, first and foremost.
Polyrhythmy. Well, I come from the southern part of Benin, and we have a lot of rhythm. Every time I go back, I'm like, huh? What is this one? We make so many drums, it's ridiculous. From one village to the other, it's not like from here to what? 20 kilometers? Language is different, rhythm is different, and you go, okay. And some two people are there out there calling it world music. I'm like, you better come here and come and check it out, right? You don't know what Africa is about. Africa is complex, man. And we are only 10 million people in Benin. You go to DRC, you lose your mind. Because every places you go, the rhythm is different. The music is different. And I grew up in the rhythm all the time. That's why for me, rhythm is the key component that bring the melody and the lyrics together. Within the lyrics, you have rhythm. If the rhythm don't fit on the drums, the melody won't fit on it. I mean, it's just the whole thing that comes in, and then you take it, you want to put it apart and you can't put it apart because it's just one piece of thing. And unfortunately, everybody listen to the music from Mali, or fortunately, because it has guitar, people can relate to it. But it's just a fraction of what exists in Mali. It's let alone on the continent of Africa. That's why people have problem with the music that come from Africa, because everybody's stuck on the idea that Africa is a country. It's a continent, buddies. Even for me as an African, it's a challenge. Every time I go somewhere, I have to discover something new. But at least wherever I go in Africa, I feel home because we have the same value everywhere. And we face the same challenges everywhere we go.
You
And
mean value as in
values as human value,
yeah, okay.
how we've washed, how we love one another, how we love our family, how we will stand for our family. The solidarity of communities is amazing, but yet we don't feel that when we come here. We are all treated like we don't belong to this planet Earth. I'm like, if we don't belong to it, you don't, because you live the way you live because we have been enslaved to create your wealth. Once you realize that, you start putting it in another category. First, only one human family. Within that family, I always say, first diversities. That's what makes us unique. You want to be like, look like everybody else when you wake up out there? I see my face in the mirror every morning. I don't want to see it everywhere. Forget it. I like diversity. I like to see different shape. I like to see different color, eyes color. I like to see different smile. I mean, that's what keeps me alive. That's what keep me alert to always pay attention. Somebody's different here. What can I learn from this person? That's how I've been raised. Because my father always said to me, if you don't know where you come from, you know where you're going. I know where I come from. I might not know where I'm going because I'm meeting different culture, different people, but I'm always curious about the culture. Always, because somehow one thing in that culture remind me my ancestors. We have so much in common culturally. If we start digging into it, we're going to stop being racist because we are all fed with the same culture across the planet.
That's great. I think this question of diversity is really interesting, especially, or not especially, but in relation to you and your career, because it spans a very interesting period of our history. In 1991, I think there was a lot of positivity around a word such as diversity, whereas today we might, politically, things have changed to a large extent.
But things have changed because of many, many different aspects of our society. I always believe, and I always say this for years, that as long as we have an economical system that does not put human being at the center of it, we will fail. You don't create money from numbers. We need each other to be wealthy or poor. And it has been since the last 20 years, we have had certain amount of people that become bullies of economy. They want it all. They are bullies. They are greedy. They want the whole thing for themselves. What do you do by doing that? You create a huge gap between people that have a lot and people that have nothing. In between, you leave a void. And that void becomes a vortex that is sucking the youth of the world into it. What are we here for? For the youth, or to make money and let the youth sink while we stick on top of it? I always say, countries that have youth that cannot dream anymore about a better future, that country will go into the drain. Because you cannot have a society if the youth cannot wake up and say, tomorrow I can be an engineer. I can go to school and have a job. Today there's no more job out there for nobody. Why? Because you have a minority of people that are so greedy that don't care. And they think that the whole money that they make, they can find another ecosystem somewhere. If the whole thing collapses, you rich or poor, you die. One thing my mom always used to say to me is that just watch a child being born. And then you realize that nothing Nothing at all is more important at that moment. That every child that is born to this world, black, white, yellow, or red, come naked, hand with nothing, and the day you die, you go the same way. What you are able to achieve with your brain, with your skill that nature gave you to participate in a social economy, is not even recognized today anymore. No one wants to know what is in your brain. Everybody, when you come somewhere, that how much money you have, I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And that's where we are feeling. That's where, especially today, we have sent our kids on the verge of extremism. And they think that going to Syria and joining all those crazy, because I call them crazy, because internet has allowed all the psychopaths to come together. That's the problem with the internet. I mean, the psychopaths are like, oh, we can get together and kill the whole world. And they are dragging our kids into it. They use internet better than we use internet to counter narrative to them. We leave the space for them to go around and tell your kids, you come to us, when you die for us, you go see God. What kind of nonsense is that? But what are we telling them back? What are we putting on internet for the kids of our country to say, this might not be legit, I'm not going there. I might reach out to some people to find meaning to my life. We leave our kid hanging at the mercy of those crazy people that are smart enough to come into your living room and you don't even know it. Next thing you find out, your kid is gone killing people. Because we are just becoming so selfish, so centered on money. We breathe money, we sleep money. I'm like, money can't save you from death. When death time come and knocking on the door, you can't tell him, wait, I'm going to go out check my million. The death's going to go low. Yeah, 6 feet under, let's go for it. I have to laugh about it because otherwise it's too depressing.
You clearly have taken on a responsibility for these developments you see in different senses. Do you feel that as an artist you have a responsibility to do so, or is it you as a human being?
I mean, as a human being, I cannot just sit around and just say my life is good like that, I don't care about the others. Because my life will never be okay if some other people are suffering. It's impossible. We only have this ecosystem to live in, right? There's no other. There's not another place than Earth, okay? So you sit and you go, it's easy to sit down and say, I don't care about you. I do care. And I have cared since I was 9 years old, since I first heard the story of slavery. I could not fathom it. I could not remember. I could not even understand it. When my grandmother started talking to me about slavery, I'm like, she's losing her mind. And then when I turned 15, I saw Winnie Mandela on TV talking about Nelson Mandela. Then my world collapsed in pieces at that moment. And for the first time ever, I was angry at my parents and I screamed on my parents. Never have done that before. Because my mom and dad, every morning, every day that God made, would tell us a human being is not a matter of color. There's only one human family, and you hurt somebody, you hurt yourself. That's the philosophy I was raised in, that I still believe in. But yet, there are dangers out there if you don't know the story. So I'm like, how can you be lying to me? Me sitting here telling me that if I go out, people are going to accept who I am because I'm a human being? And I was so mad, and I wrote the most violent lyrics I've ever written in my life. And my parents said to me, no violence here, no hate here. In your music, there can be no hate, there cannot be no violence, because you as an artist are the one that have to have the key to close doors to open them. You have to build bridges for people to meet halfway, to be able for us to talk. And my father always used to say to me, your ultimate weapon is your brain. If you don't win getting people to come together and you have to resolve to using your fist to fight, you've lost every battle. So for me, that's my point of view. And I started campaigning, writing the first song, on one of the songs on Logozo, where we was talking about human rights. Why should a human being be put in jail because the person expressed himself or herself? Who have the right to take that? We're talking about democracy. Which democracy are we having? The democracy we live in today is taken away from us every single day by the leaders everywhere in the world, by little law here and there, and democracy is going. Because everybody like dictator, they're gonna just tell you what you wanna hear. But they are doing it in a way that by the time you wake up, it's too late. Your freedom is taken away from you. So I say it all the time that silence is a bullet. It kills because we sit comfortably and we don't wake up. When we see something that is really annoying and you say, this is not right, how do you act upon it? We all have the power to transform the world in which we live in. Only, if only we think not only of ourselves, but every single human being on the planet. How can you want somebody to respect your freedom when you don't fight for somebody else's freedom? There are young kids today in jail in DRC because they want democracy. Last week, I received the Ambassador of Conscience Award from Amnesty, along with those young activists from Africa. Those young kids, nobody talk about them. In Senegal, in Burkina Faso, in different places where they are tired of having the same system over and over again. No one talk about them, and those guys have been in jail at least for a year now, and no one do nothing. So where do we stand, all of us here as a human family? What can we do? How can we put pressure on leaders for them to back off, not step in our freedom? Because our freedom, we're giving it away by our silence. That's why I come from. I'm not, my freedom is a birthright. I was born free. God gave all of us the gift of free will. And that, who said that to me? Desmond Tutu. We were having a conversation with Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary of State of Bill Clinton, with Desmond Tutu. And Madeleine Albright asked Desmond Tutu, Father, how can you explain that God can create somebody like Hitler that hurt so many people and we don't have any justice for it? How do we come to closure with pain? And Desmond Tutu said, what we don't see, we cannot understand, and that's how we function as human beings. But he wished that we can see the God that he see when he pray. That sometimes God himself is just like, his head in his hand going, what are you doing with the life that I gave you? And all the good, the strength that I gave you. I gave you the knowledge of what is right or wrong. I gave you the knowledge, I gave you the ability of love, of empathy, of compassion. What are you doing with it? But one thing that he gave us last is our free will. And he vowed to himself never to intervene because he believed in our capacity of redemption. That even the last moment you have on this earth, when you ask for forgiveness, that's how magnificent God is. He will forgive you. But we want revenge, and revenge is not a good thing. And I will say that. Last thing I'm going to say. I was fortunate enough to be in the presence of Nelson Mandela to visit his jail cell at Robben Island with myself and other celebrities. And when we walk into that jail cell, if you see how tiny it is and how big the guy is, and what happened there for 27 years, you look at yourself and you go, you are so angry. We were all angry. And this is the magnificent thing about Nelson Mandela. He just go, wake up to my palace. And we all start laughing. We are like, really? This guy is something else. And he said to us, when somebody hurts you, somebody do you wrong, you don't let it go. The person will hurt you until your last breath on earth. I've forgiven. I'm moving forward. And from that moment on, you do something wrong to me, we talk about it. You don't want to talk about it, you just go. I can't sleep. I can't go to my bed having somebody in my... No, I don't go to bed angry. I don't go to bed with hate. That has been my... Since I left my hometown, I don't care. I will settle and I go to bed. That's it.
There's a wide interest field in your humanitarian efforts. Tomorrow at the concert in Gegal, you will be performing music from the record Eve, which has as a theme the role of women in African culture. Can you expand a little on this topic also in both in music but also in humanitarian work? It's a large one.
It's a large one. Not only in Africa, everywhere. Women are born and brainwashed from the moment they are born. And our parents have a role to play in it, saying that the only thing that can define you in a society is to be married to a man. That's all we are born for. We cannot do anything else. We cannot be anything else we want to be. And in Africa, it's even more dangerous, or I don't even have the word for it. I was doing, as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, I was in Ethiopia, and we were doing youth meeting in Ethiopia. And a young girl from Kenya said, I want to create all over Africa youth parliament, because when they start deciding for us, we have to be there at the beginning of the conversation. And we have a panel discussion scheduled about gender inequality. And as we're about to start with the moderator, there's a young girl from South Sudan that raised her hand. She said, I have to make a point before we start. I said, okay, go ahead. She said, before we start talking about gender inequality in Africa, we have to talk about the status of a girl that is born in a family. Because that girl, when she's born, she belongs to the father as a money of exchange. The father decides who she's going to marry that child to. You don't, from the moment you say you come out of the womb of your mother, you don't have a say in your future. So therefore, before we start talking about gender inequality, we have to raise that case. And she had a point. I just came back from Benin after Senegal. I went to Benin to record a song with local artists against child marriage. Today, they kidnap. It's not even the family that gave you. They go kidnap you for you to marry a 50-year-old man when you're 12 years old. I've met mothers, 13 years old. Their baby is so tiny. And the thing is, when you see those young girls, they are dead, one dead person working. There's no light in their face. They're just like this. Because their life has stopped. Because having sexual intercourse is not pleasure. It's pure rape. So here we are in the 21st century, and we have that in every society. Teenage pregnancy in America is off the roof. The women of my continent, every time you put the TV on, it's always us. It's like the misery of the world, everything is in Africa. That us, as human beings, we don't have the right for freedom. We don't have the right for pleasure. We cannot laugh. We can't do nothing but misery. And I'm tired of it. I'm dead tired of it. So I said, it's about time that I use their voice on my album for people to hear them, not just to be seeing them, to hear the voice that they are human beings. And you know the interesting thing during that recording in the villages? A couple of women came to me and said, come on, sit down, let me have a question to ask you. I said, oh my God, what is going to be that question? They said, you live out there. Every time, because everybody have satellite now, they can see everything you do, you guys say. The woman said, every time they show us in Africa, our breast is naked, we have been raped, there's nothing positive about us. Tell me, all the white women out there, they have no problem ever? They're all happy, happily married and everything? I said, no, they have their problem too. They said, why can't we learn about it and create a coalition? We can cry with them and help them too. Why we have to be always the misery? I said, well, it started with slavery and colonization. They have to put their misery somewhere to feel good about themselves. So that's where Eve come from, because those women needed to be heard. They are human beings. How can you dehumanize us so much? Because to commit the crime against humanity that slavery is, you have to dehumanize us. And that dehumanization still continues till today as we speak, in every different way. You look around you, we have created so many things that we don't have the right to. Without us, there is no sugar on your table, right? The blood of my ancestor brought sugar to Europe. But we just go around. Everything from that point on, from the 18th, 19th century, everything have been shifted not to be able to pay and to stand for the crime that have been committed. They started the whole thing about whitening everything. They whiten the rice, they whiten the sugar, everything is white. And it's poison. The white sugar is poison to you. The white bread is poison. I mean, it's just like you poison your own people to make a point. I'm like, okay.
Actually, I think that's a perfect way to end this conversation. We have run out of time. It's been a pleasure to have you here and to share with you, to share with us some of your experience from your long and
It's
eventful
always a
career.
pleasure.
And I'm sure there are many here who look forward to the concert tomorrow.
Ask them questions.
Well, we'll take some, if Angelique says so,
Yeah,
we can have
three or four questions.
3 or 4 questions if there are anyone here.
Oh, this one want to get his stuff signed. Yeah. Oh, oh, you are from East Timor. Yeah.
So this is a memory for you. This for the concert.
Yes, I remember
The
this.
Nobel concert.
Nobel Peace Prize concert. Yeah. And I was in Benin and I have to fly all the way to from the heat to the snow. Oh, I remember that one.
This is from my government.
Thank you so much.
It's funny because I was a diplomat in England as ambassador for 4 years. If I knew before, I would invite you to a national day in England, but I didn't have you.
It's okay.
I'm retired.
No, it's okay. We can do that anytime. Thanks. Okay.
Oh, we have some.
I'm from Benin,
Yeah.
your country.
Yeah. We are from the same country.
Yes.
Okay. That's how we have to say it. Hey, girl. Hey, Benin, Somalia. Africa is here, I'm telling you.
And we are in a group that called
Kaleidoscope.
Um,
Woo. Oh, I'm loving this gift already. I'm seeing all the colors of the world, of the human family is great. Allah. Yep. Man, you guys are giving me a lot of gifts. Huh? Thank God my husband's suitcase is empty. I'm the one that packed it in purpose.
All the songs are in different language.
Oh, wow.
That's perfect for you.
That's what I want. I'm going to listen to all of it. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. Wow. I'm loving this.
Do you also have a gift or a question?
Yeah, wow, wow. I can take gifts. I love gifts. Don't get me wrong. I love gifts and hugs. Woohoo, girlfriend. You are a veteran.
That's very good.
Lead the way, girl. Yeah, I will do that when we finish. Yeah.
Great. So we have time for one last one. Okay, one question then.
It's funny because you said that you don't imitate Aretha Franklin, right? But you admire her because
Absolutely.
when I invite you, I give your name to the Nobel Peace Prize because I've been seeing your concert in Paris. So I'm also a psychologist. So I like your behavior. It's original. You don't imitate anyone. That's why I give your name to the Nobel Committee to be invited.
I don't want to imitate somebody. I like role models because we all need one. And the thing that the youth of today is lacking is role model with morality and dignity. And it's difficult to find. Miriam Makeba has been the one that really make the huge leap of differences for me because I could relate to her as an African person. Then suddenly as a young girl, I can project myself in the future as a singer because I was between choosing being a human rights lawyer or being a singer. And her fight ignites something in me because she left her family. She lost her only child fighting apartheid. She lost her mother. Her first husband used to beat the crap out of her. I mean, she lost so much. But when I came to meet her, I met the warrior that she was and never give up. And she always used to say to me, Angelique, we have to stand for something or we all fall for something. And that's what really drive me. When I started singing Miriam Makeba song, I was 8 years old. My mom had a group of women that was campaigning at that time in Benin for women's right to vote. I was 68, for women to choose their partners. And as a young girl, they would drag me. I like to follow them because none of them can sing good, that they want me to sing for them. And I was not doing my homework. So I was just singing, "Let women free." I was becoming a feminist I was feminist at 8 years old, not knowing I was like, yee, I was having fun. So for me, what the message that I get from Miriam is that you can be whoever you want to be, but you cannot be somebody without truth in yourself, without confidence in your own identity. I am who I am. I didn't choose to be born in Africa or in Benin, but that's where I come from. I'm not gonna give that. I can live 50 years outside of Benin. I don't care. When I go back home, I go right to the place where I belong. I mean, living outside of my country, I don't miss it because I'm talking to my mom every day. I'm talking to my sister every day. I was in Benin a week ago. I mean, it's a trip. I mean, I got to take there, I sit down, I say, Mom, I want to eat this, I want to eat that, and have all the food I need. And I meet all my old friends, and we start the conversation we left a year ago. So my country, I carry my country and my identity with me, and I've never, ever, for me, was not for sale, ever will be. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Can we remove this thing now?
Yeah.
Whew. Or I have to do the TV stuff with it? Woo-hoo. Yeah. Thank God I don't sing with that on stage. I would be crazy, man. I'm like, take this out of me. How are you?
This is my wife.
I'm gonna put this in.
This is very funny because we have